Ramblings with your host, Bill Lofton, co-hosted by Gary Glenn and William Howington, with help from John Cole.
Well, here we are. Welcome to Intelligent Ramblings, tongue-tied as I am. I'm Bill Lofton. I'm your host, and with me we have William Howington, John Cone, our co-host, and our guest co-host, Mike Anderson. Gary Glenn is on assignment somewhere out on the left coast. Hope you're watching, Gary, and we miss you very much. Anyway, just something to go ahead and throw out there real fast. Facebook has changed their rules again. Oh my goodness, is that a surprise or what? Think about Facebook changes their rules as much as I change my underwear. I mean, it's weird. I did videos on there for about a year and a half, and I was starting to get a crowd that were watching it. I actually had one video that went 17,000 views. That's a whole different story. But my normal views on my videos when I was continuously doing them was 450 to about 650, 700 people every day would tune into my videos. I figured out the algorithm, and it was actually working. And then all of a sudden they went, oh, by the way, you can no longer use the songs that you're using, and we're not going to use any of your videos. So I had a year's worth of videos that were with songs that they provided that I couldn't use anymore. So I have, 80 videos that they fucking wouldn't let me use anymore, which is insane. So I kind of got disheartened and said, fuck you very much, Facebook, and I have not dealt with it since. I do put up videos from time to time, but not as many. But leading me back to where I started, Facebook has changed the rules again, so we are not live on Facebook anymore. We're live on YouTube and on Twitter or Twitch, or one of those twings. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's the one with the purple thing around it. Anyway, that's where we are.
Yeah.
Twitch. Okay. And that's where we're at right now. So if you want to see us, if you are seeing us, you're watching this on YouTube. I've put links on the Facebook group and the Facebook page. And I've also put it in LinkedIn on that page, and hopefully everybody can navigate their way to where we are now. Eventually,
Facebook is evil. You're right, Bill.
We will go back. Eventually, we will get back in Facebook's good graces. Supposedly, what you have to do is you have to have 100 followers on your page. Well, for some way, we put a call out and said, hey, everybody, we need 100 people on our page to go live. Well, the problem is we got 150 now on our friends page, which is a group. They went to the wrong page and followed us. So we're up to about 80 people on the Facebook page, and when we get to 100, then you get to be live again on Facebook. That's the new rule. And how long that's going to last, who the hell knows? Facebook is evil. We all know that. And, I mean, what kind of a platform would continuously put ads on there that's spam to their people?
Yeah. You click on Facebook.
Would anybody buy anything that's on Facebook on an ad? No. They're all Temus and stuff like that. You don't know what the hell you're going to get, if you're going to get it, when you're going to get it. And when you get it, it may be, I ordered a pair of something and got a pair of sunglasses that looked like they were really nice sunglasses, but they weren't. And it wasn't what I had ordered. I don't order anything without the PayPal guarantee anyway. But enough on my rant about Facebook. We're not there, by the way, so don't look for us there. Kiss my ass, Facebook. Thank you, YouTube. Anyway, so guys, how's life?
Good. Life is beautiful.
Hot and humid.
Life is beautiful. Okay. All right, well, let's start off with hot and humid. We're in the it's as early for this nasty weather that we're having. This is early for that. We're in the 90s. It got up to like 94 the other day. And if you live in the South, it's not like the rest of the world where it's hot, but it's dry. Down here, it's hot and wet. So it's like living in a swamp. And you can actually look out and see the air. Mm-hmm. If you've never seen the air, you don't really understand humidity. But we can actually see the air, and when you can see it, you know that shit is humid. You just walk outside and you just go, you're soaking wet immediately. Anyway,
it's a misery index like no other.
It is a serious misery index. What do you guys think about this new law that requires all Louisiana public school classrooms to display the 10 Commandments? This Republican governor, Jeff Landry, signed into law on Wednesday, requires a poster-sized display of the 10 Commandments in large, easy readable font in all public classrooms from kindergarten to state-funded universities. Church and state, here we go. Go, guys.
Alarm bells are going off.
Yeah, I mean,
well,
I don't think there's anything wrong with the implied moral view that having the 10 Commandments in place provides, but inevitably it's too tight of an arrangement with religion and state that makes that just too much, you know. Just take the God part out of it, and I wouldn't have a problem.
I think it's just a matter of time before it ends up in a lawsuit. I don't know.
Oh, but that's the point. That's the point. I mean, that's the reason that was put in place, is to eventually make its way to a conservative Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Supreme Court's already ruled on that, separation of church and state. I kind of like it myself. I think you take God out of the classroom, you've got problems. That's the reason why we see all these things we see. We didn't have this problem 40 years ago, or 50 years ago when we were in school.
I don't
That's
know.
true.
I think you could make the argument that it's less about whether the 10 Commandments are displayed in the classroom and more about the way the contribution or lack of contribution that parents make to their children's learning now compared to the way it used to be. I'm speaking as the husband of a 30-year teaching veteran who watched the change in the classroom over that time go from good to bad, and it all goes back to the parents for the most part.
What's keeping parents from parenting?
Good question. I think parents
lack of morals.
Parents are just as stressed as any other group of people in our population, and so they take shortcuts and do what they got to do, and a lot of times I think the kids end up with the short end of the stick.
Yeah. What role of nutrition and exercise do you think plays a role in the impact in the classroom there?
Well, those are both really important in school and out of school. And, to go back to the part where kids end up getting the short end of the stick, they don't get disciplined and learn the rules of, being in a group and group behavior at home. And by the way, their parents are like holding two jobs together so they can pay the bills. And
And they're choosing cheap processed foods, and they can't provide these kids to go out and exercise. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I always viewed nutrition and exercise that's provided from a parent to a child as essential for the foundation for that kid's success. So, when we're in an inflationary environment and processed foods are cheaper and parents are having to work 2 jobs so they can't bring the kid to baseball or football practice and can't, buy the new equipment for them. All of this is contributing to, the perception that the behavior of children in school and their ability to apply themselves has been degraded. So all of this together, it's an economic issue that we're all really talking about that's contributed to how we think that society's broken down. And I think, looking for just posting the 10 Commandments in the classroom as like a solution to that is really short-sighted in my opinion. And really, it's a more systemic problem.
They haven't been posted in the schools for 4 or 5 decades. And like I said, we saw the decline in kids' behavior over 30 or 40 years. I don't think the 10 Commandments, there or not, are going to make much of a difference. I think
it'll be a big poster on the side of the classroom that the kids will get used to it being there and not paying attention to it.
How much resources are we using for that poster? That could be better spent on lunches.
Well, they get free lunch and reduced lunch right now and breakfast, so they're doing a pretty good job there with nutrition.
Yeah, but what about the summer months when they go home and there is no free food?
Well, they
for
still
them?
provide stuff, I think. In some school systems, they provide something. But you're right, summer's got a problem.
You think school should be year-round?
No.
It almost is now, isn't it?
Pretty close. I only got like weeks instead of, we used to have like 2.5 months. Literally.
I'm all for it because I'm out of school now and I'd like to be surrounded by smart kids. They're going to have to take care of me one day. So I'm all in favor.
No doubt. No doubt about that. Let's move on to
Hey, along with the staying on the education theme, California says no more cell phones in the classroom. And there's a number of other states doing this too. And I think the teachers would be really in favor of that. What do you think, William? What do you see? What does Gary see in the classroom?
I never had a problem with it because they knew the rules. You get out your cell phone, you get it taken up, and you get it back at the end of the day. I never had to take them up or anything. They can use their cell phone in between classes. They can go to the bathroom and use it, whatever, but not in the classroom. It's a distraction to the learning, and we don't need any more distractions. We already got enough distractions as it is.
when did I go away, guys? What did I miss?
I didn't know you went away.
My screen just went black for a second. I must have missed out. Did I go to the next topic?
No.
No, you didn't. We went on to talk about no cell phones in California classrooms.
Okay.
Classrooms. But we're about done with that.
All right. Well, let's go to the nurses in Oregon take to the picket lines to demand better staffing, higher pay. More than 3,000 nurses at 6 Oregon hospitals spent the second day on the picket lines. I feel for them, but never had enough people in my kitchen when I was running kitchens. There's never enough people to run the factories here in Stevens County. There's never enough of anybody. everybody needs it. And I think nurses are pretty damn well paid as it is. You know, I do realize they work long hours, but as a chef, my normal week was 65, 70.
That many hours should never have been acceptable for any industry.
No,
Yeah, that's too much.
You know, I mean, when we talk about, you know, normalizing, you know, these 18-hour shifts for nurses, I think it's unconscionable. You know, it's like worse than working in a coal mine.
Yeah, well, they
It's
normally
got to
work.
be hard to do that on your feet for a day and a half, basically. You know, a working day and a half, that's just too much.
I don't know what they make. I'd like to see what they make and what they're asking for. You know,
It
we all
might
got
be
this
less
problem.
of a thing about pay and more about staffing, like we were talking about, and you know that you got to hire some more people. We need help, and
Yeah.
there's not enough coverage.
Well, there's not enough people
in the
need
hospital.
wanting to work. It's everything.
Say again, sorry, William.
I said, there's not enough people wanting to work. We got problems throughout society. There's plenty of job openings. I see help wanted signs everywhere I go, and nobody's applying for these jobs. I need a job myself, but I need to find one that gets through about 2 o'clock in the afternoon so I can continue my refereeing skills.
Yeah.
Bill,
Welcome
you
back,
you
Bill.
back?
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know what happened. I actually dropped me completely off. I had to not reboot, but I don't know. I'm watching the. They got a little scale up here that tells me how good the internet is, and it was.
Oh no.
I had 2 bars, and then all of a sudden I had 1 bar, and I don't know what's going on. Travista Cable and I are going to have a conversation tomorrow, though. I promise you that. And it ain't going to be a real fun one for
When
them.
you go out, do we go out or do we stay
Nope.
on?
We're
No,
on
we
here.
stay on.
Y'all still on. Just start your squares turn black and start spinning. And
Oh, great.
now, if I smoked a big fat one, it would be, you know, enjoyable. But other than that, it ain't fun. Anyway,
But you could reboot your router on a break.
well, that would take a lot longer than I would have time to.
The break
do.
is.
Yeah, the break is. So we were talking about the nurses in Oregon, and doesn't seem like anybody's got enough people to do anything.
Do you know, are they striking for more money or better staffing, more people? Do you
More-
know what
everything.
they're striking
They were-
over?
Patience over profits,
Everything.
and we're out to ensure it's safe in there. You know, and it does get kind of, you know, I have a little bit of medical background knowledge as the fact that I was a Navy medical technician. So I have a very, 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 very small amount of knowledge on it. Basically, if you get shot or stabbed around me, I'm a good person to have around because I can keep you alive. But other than that, you know, that's about
I'll
it.
keep that in mind.
But you know, I think countrywide, people are having a hard time finding people. But then again, I hear about all these people that can't find a job. So it makes no sense at all to me. Well, we got one opinion. Andrea says that nurses are going to essential service. No offense to Bill, but the shortage of chefs may not be near so essential. I don't know.
I don't know. That's a pretty good one. You know, I mean, we all need line cooks, but I don't know about executive chefs. That's a different
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. You can take a line cook and get run the kitchen. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. The nurses are a life and death situation, and one thing that took me many years to learn in a kitchen is I'm a perfectionist, and when it comes to food, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be really close to perfect and still get by. If that steak is not cooked exactly the way you want or the customer wanted, he ain't gonna die. He's not gonna have a heart attack and fall over dead because his steak's not cooked. And he's not gonna get a brain aneurysm because his steak's not cooked right. It's just not life and death like the nurse's world is like life and death at times. And it takes you've got to go to college for that. It's not like you just walk up in the hospital and say, hey, I want to be a nurse today. I like taking care of people, so I want to be a nurse. So I understand what you're saying, Andrea, and I actually agree. We're not as essential.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I kind of have to.
Yeah.
But I'm still wondering how much is enough. I mean, I know nurses get paid pretty well right now. I mean, when's the last time I went to the hospital and looked at your bill?
Yeah.
Somebody's
I don't
getting
know
paid.
if they get it. Somebody's getting the money. I don't know if it's them. I'd like to know how much they make, sure enough, to see whether or not that.
$30-$40 an hour.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I'd like to make
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I'm trying to live on Social Security.
So
Hey.
they're not hurting. I mean, you're talking about starting out as a nurse at $50,000 a year, 50, 60, and when you get into the specialized services, you're talking about 90, 120. So we're
It all
talking
depends
about.
on your cost of living area. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, a nurse here in Georgia is going to make, $60,000, and one out in LA is going to make $220.
Yep.
So it's depending on your area, obviously. But wanted to say hello to everybody else in the audience tonight. We appreciate you being here. Please make your opinions known. That's the only way you can control us, is to say what you think. Andrea's one of our big people on the show, and we appreciate her so much. Hadn't heard much from Kenny lately. What do you guys think about Russia and North Korea signing an agreement?
It's going to cause trouble.
It's two of my least favorite people in the world.
I'd put them both into my top 5. I wouldn't have a problem putting a bullet in either one of them.
One well-placed hand grenade would cure a lot of problems.
Best little
I
fat
never
guy
said
out
that,
in
by
North
the way.
Korea.
I know I'm on a list now.
We're all on the list. We don't care. I'd pop old fat boy real quick. Wouldn't think about it. Wouldn't bother me at all. I mean, just 45 to skull and be done with him. I said that, Mr. North Korea. Come get me. Bring it, fat boy. I got everything you want right here. I'm publicly challenging you to a boxing match. Me and you. Fat
We
guy
are
from
nothing
North
if
Korea.
not badasses here at Intelligent
We are.
Ramblings.
That's it. We are. And I just did it on national webcast TV. So,
John, you got a dog problem?
I'm sorry about my dog. She wants to go out. I'm going to mute my mic for a second and see if I can get some help with this.
well,
All
I've
right.
got the same problem, but he's upstairs, so I don't have to worry about him. He is my dog is. I have a Staffordshire Terrier, and he has developed vocals.
When did you get that?
Jaeger, you've met Jaeger.
I thought he was a pit bull.
He looks like a pit bull, but it's a kind of a like first cousin to a pit bull. They're smaller, they're slenderer, and smarter. But But he now goes to the door, and it used to be he would just stand there and look at it, but now he starts whining, and then somebody might say, do you want to go outside? Then he starts barking. I mean, he just raises all kind of hell. And if a dog comes on TV, he goes, he starts talking about the dog on TV. I mean, I've heard him say mama before. I've heard him say dada. He's smarter than most cooks that I work with. You know, he really is. His intelligence is way up there as far as that goes.
Maybe we need to have him on the show one night.
Yeager, Bill and Yeager's 3 minutes with Bill and Yeager. He doesn't like. He's kind of camera shy. Whenever I try to take pictures of him or videos, he turns away. I have never figured that out yet. But back to something besides Yeager. The comprehensive partnership agreement provides, among other things, for the provision of mutual assistance in the event of aggression against one of the parties of this document. If you get aggressive with North Korea or Russia, they will come after you, supposedly. And the problem with that is that their definition of aggression and our definition of aggression is pretty different. Russia takes an especially broad view. Pyongyang commonly terms the combined military exercises held between the United States and South Korea as aggression. And Russia has predicted the war in Ukraine on purported plans by NATO to commit aggression against Russia from its neighbor. So their definition of aggression and ours is very different. They just use it for whatever. If you piss them off, it's aggression. If you do something you don't like, they don't like, it's aggression. So, you know, they're both full of shit, so who cares?
Yeah. And we got problems because both of them are crazy.
Yeah.
Putin and Kim Jong-un, or whatever his name is.
Those are some unpredictable people.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Problems.
Well, maybe
guys,
we don't
what
have
on?
any problems.
I mean, between the two of them, there's really not a whole lot of other countries they can have treaties with, though. You know, I mean, I think essentially they need each other to exist in order for the other one to have some sort of economic output. They're both buying and selling each other's goods, whether it be arms or oil. I mean, that's all they have to offer, really.
Yeah, they both kind of got out there on that limb together, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, what? I don't know if anything really came of it, but what was the deal with Russia bringing some naval ships to Cuba? What was that, last week or the week before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't find out any more information there, but I don't know what that deal was with that.
It just kind of went away in headlines. I mean, it never.
Yeah, right.
I never saw anything about it at all.
Yeah.
That's a good thought to bring up. What happened to that?
We got to remember, Cuba's only 90 miles from the United States. And of course, Russia's only like 20 miles from the United States.
Well, we didn't handle it like JFK did back in the 60s. He basically told him if he didn't turn around, he'd launch on him. So,
yeah, we don't need any more nuclear posturing, really. I mean,
we got enough to put them back to the Stone Age, and they got enough to put us back to Stone Age. So,
mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, it's there. So we know it, they know it, and hopefully they've got enough sense not to do with it. Well, we've got a special guest host on here tonight, Mike Anderson, and he's going to take over Gary Speaks. Excuse me. Gary Speaks a little bit right now, and we'll see what happens.
pretty good picture of Gary, actually. I don't think I can do that. It's not too bad. Well, anyway, so I'm Mike. Give you a brief introduction for those of you that are just joining me. So, I live in Baltimore. I've lived in Maryland my entire life. I make my living during the week doing construction photography on construction sites, and mostly with drones, but also on foot, lots of stuff. And I also have a side career doing action sports photography and other types of photography, but mostly action sports. I've been really in the photography world for better part of 20 years. Used to take pictures at concerts, more like local punk shows. You know, I did that for 7 or 8 years, somewhere between early high school through what would have been college years for most people, but my college experience was a little different. But really have spent my time mostly in Baltimore until work started taking me a little bit more outside of the mid-Atlantic. You know, had some experiences on the West Coast and some other countries doing some photography work. That's been really, pretty cool. More recently, I've been spending my time, you know, doing the drone photography during the week and doing some more regional and local cycling events. And that's been working out pretty well. But really, what I was just trying to get into the conversation here, besides looking at my cool stuff back there, cool stuff. You know, I was looking through the headlines, and the thing that keeps popping in my eye as a drone photographer specifically is this pending legislation in the U.S. Congress to restrict basically the world's largest drone and drone photography software and hardware company from having the ability to exist within the U.S. Well, not quite. Really, and this is another point about it altogether. Most of the headlines are saying, oh, we're banning DJI. This is this company. Well, backstory, DJI is a company that's based in China, and apparently like 7% of the company is owned by companies in China that are also owned by state organizations. So there are some implications of some possible involvement of the Communist Party within China to DJI's existence, which, you know, everybody in the company on down has always said isn't true, and it's based on falsehoods. I'm not one to judge about this because I don't know the specifics behind the intelligence that you know, has led to this being, you know, voted on in Congress and continue to be amended. But nonetheless, it looks like it's more likely than not that this will pass and there will be some sort of ban on this manufacturer. Now, DJI owns 70% of the drone market in the world. That's huge. And it dwarfs the US market, for example. And honestly, if this was a purely economic bill, I would understand it, because the US market is fledgling and not really doing all that well in terms of innovation, and it can't keep up in terms of price point by any stretch. And there are some unfair advantages that DJI, you know, is afforded through, you know, being in a place like China where, you know, basically labor is treated like slavery. Let's not play around here. Those people live in abject horror for the things that we consume. And that's not just for drones. But anyway, DJI is probably going to lose its ability to bring in new products under this legislation. So basically, if they can't get new products licensed through the FCC to transmit radio, then they're therefore going to be barred from introducing new products probably by the end of the year. Probably not going to get out of committee and voted on until December based on what we're looking at, but it actually is going to be a pretty big interruption to my main income source. But we'll see if that comes to fruition or if there's another option there. And I think we're also in the same situation with TikTok, TikTok being, ordered to sell within the same period of time, or it's going to get banned and removed from the app stores. And the DJI apps are going to be afforded the same fate, unfortunately, of probably being removed from the app stores unless a sale is provided. All these things are still in their early stages. But I'd like to see the U.S. industry have a chance. But right now they don't, in terms of a competitive edge, in terms of price, reliability, availability. Maybe in a few years, I'd love to see it. There's a lot of space for that. Big company like NVIDIA, all it would take is a very small percentage of their regular business diverted towards something like drones that really could make a big difference. But I don't want to go on too much into this intelligent rambling. So let's bring it on back to Bill.
This webcast is brought to you by William Lofton Photography. They can be found at williamlofton.com. Offering event residential portraiture at williamlofton.com.
Hi, we're back this week with part 2 of AI and generative AI in layman's terms. And this week I've got charts and graphs, so it'll be a little more interesting and colorful than last week. Remember last week we said any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And this week, like I said, we're talking about generative AI as opposed to the larger, your grandfather's AI that we talked about last week. So last week we talked about machine learning, neural networks, and language models, how they form the basis of AI. And I've got slides to go with this. So this is your grandfather's AI, and it has as input on the left-hand side text, images, audio, video, anything that can be turned into binary can become an input. And they went into simple neural networks, and then you get an output in the form of text or images or audio and video. The machine learning and the neural networks and data that it took to make AI like this were smaller and more or less built by hand. So what we have today in generative AI is we've got deep learning in the place of machine learning. Complex neural networks and large language models form the basis of modern AI. And these components, deep learning, complex neural networks, and the large amounts of data that it takes to support it, are often built by other AIs. So now we have artificial intelligence building artificial intelligence. And the reason that's a good thing is there is so much pre-training of the network and so much data involved in supporting something like ChatGPT, for example, that it's much more efficient and faster to have AIs building the newer AIs. So what are some examples of generative AI in this new environment? Well, first of all, IBM says there are 7 types of AI. and we're going to look at just one type, the generative AI and the large language model. Most of us encounter this is the format of AI that most of us are going to work with, that we'll be familiar with. And I just want to do a little background. When you hear Chat GPT or GPT 4.0 or other large language model GPT clients, what the GPT part stands for is generative pre-trained transformer. The generative part is saying that it's creative. It's not just cranking out answers. It's being creative. It's creating art, new documents, poems, videos, you name it. It's pre-trained. It's the data and the rules that govern how it creates its output is pre-trained, and it uses the T part is refers to transformer, which maybe you could think of that as a translator. It was a concept proposed for AI in 2017. So very quickly, they brought this transformer model into AI, and we see the results now with, as I was saying, OpenAI's Chat GPT and GPT 4.0, Microsoft Pilot, Mid-Journey, OpenArt Stable Diffusion, and there's so many others out there. Let's talk about this slide for a minute, and then we'll finish up. So on the left part of the slide, you can see your grandfather's AI that was built on machine learning, neural networks, and a language model. And then in that subset, generative AI, it's using deep learning, complex neural networks, and a large language model. And one of the clients that gives you and I access to generative AI is Chat GPT that you see in that small circle. Other clients, I mentioned GPT 4.0, Microsoft Pilot, Mid-Journey, they would all fit in that small circle where you see Chat GPT. They're just clients of generative AI and the large language model. So that's kind of the structure in a really high level of generative AI today. My final thoughts are that generative AI is the type of AI that most of us will interact with in the near future. And it's only as good as the prompts that you give it. If your prompt is biased or badly formed, or your data is flawed, the results are generally going to reflect that. AI is important for all of us, whether we actively create with it or we just use it in our everyday lives. And we may not even know that we are using it. I want to note a reference that I use for this talk. It's called Generative AI in a Nutshell. And in the document that I'll put up on Facebook this evening, my notes, there's a link to the YouTube video that I used as a reference to do this little talk. It's really good. It's worth the 18 minutes that you'll spend looking at the entire AI picture. The guy that created it is really good at what he does, and so I recommend it highly. All right, that is it for AI and generative AI. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the referee's call. Tonight I'm going to talk about a WNBA player who has set a record by becoming the fastest player in WNBA history. I repeat, the fastest player in WNBA history to score 200 points, have 75 rebounds, and 75 assists. Now think about that. That's an awful lot, and it's the fastest one in the history of the WNBA. Of course, I'm talking about former Iowa star Caitlin Clark. Clark was finally named to the United States women's team, which is our Olympic team, after Brittany Griner was found to have steroids in her system. Of course, Brittany Griner is famous for being arrested in prison and imprisoned in Russia for having chemical compounds that were not legal in Russia, basically drugs. But anyway, Clark will be on the Olympic team in her place. There was a big uproar when she wasn't named to the team originally. So we can look for Clark to be in the Olympics this summer. That is, if her WNBA opponents don't quit fouling her flagrantly. Clark, who is white, has drawn the ire of black opponents who continually try to hurt her on the court. They do this because of petty jealousy and maybe even some racial prejudice. Clark has single-handedly put women's basketball on the map. Recently, a game drew over 16,000 fans. Now think about that, 16,000 fans to watch a women's basketball game. This is a far cry to what the WNBA normally gets. And when they're on TV, they set records for viewership. Without Clark, women's basketball would be a non-story. We need more Caitlin Clarks and less of Angel Reese's. Angel Reese, of course, is the basketball player of LSU who pointed to her ring finger to Clark when the LSU won the national championship 2 years ago. She has established herself as being a thug in women's basketball and an antagonist of Clark. Just recently, she went up for a block on Clark and hit her in the head with the arm and was fouled for a flagrant one on the shot. We got problems racially throughout the United States, and now we have them in the WNBA. It's a shame because Clark is just trying to make a living like everybody else, and she's a good role model. She has a boyfriend and is someone who the girls can look up to and play. We need more of Caitlin Clark and less of Angel Reese and her cohorts. Well, that's all I have tonight. We'll see you in 2 weeks because I'm going out of town to visit my grandkids and my daughter and my son-in-law in Idaho. I'll be flying back Wednesday and won't be able to be on the TV. Anyway, have a good night. That's all I have.
Why not spray bugs in your yard or garden? Enjoy the bees and butterflies. Enjoy more fruits and flowers. You know about the bees as pollinators, but other insects are just as important. Beetles, moths, butterflies, and a host of other insects. Encourage the decomposers. They're like mini bulldozers. If there are fewer bugs in the soil, decomposition is slower. Worms, beetles, and slaters will munch through decaying vegetation, releasing nutrients into the soil that can be used by plants. An army of beneficial bugs that can eat your pest. Mantises and dragonflies are just some of the hundreds of fascinating and beautiful bugs we're lucky to see around our homes. Many of these wonderful creatures are predators of mozzies, houseflies, and cockroaches. Yet people are using broad-spectrum insecticides which kill these beneficial bugs along with the pest. Your garden will support more wildlife. Spraying with broad-spectrum pesticides will kill off more than just insects and spiders. You're also going after the animals that eat them. The more insects are around, the more birds, mammals, and reptiles and frogs will thrive in your backyard. Your family will be happier and healthier. Engaging with nature increases well-being and stimulates learning in children. Insects are a fantastic way to engage with nature, and where better than do this in your own backyard. Time to think globally and act locally. Your backyard has a surprising impact on the broader health of your neighborhood, and gardens can make significant contributions to local biodiversity. Insects are an important part of the ecosystem conservation, and encouraging them will improve the health of your local environment.
Thought I was
Well.
watching a nature show there for a minute.
How'd y'all like that?
That was good info.
That was good, Bill.
You got these people that go out and they buy their Roundup and shit like that, and I'm one of those people that'll walk right up behind you as you're reaching to get that Roundup on the and put it in your cart, and you're gonna go spray shit, and I look at them and you go, "That's poison. You know that?" And they go, "Yeah, it's poison." I go, "It's poison. It shit is killing our planet, and you're buying it, and you are part of the problem. That is why this shit is happening." I've actually done that in a Walmart. Walked up and said, "You are ruining our planet buying that shit, and you will rue the day that you ever use that." And this was 10 years ago that I was preaching to get it. And I can go back on Facebook and I can find stuff where I put skull and crossbones and put that Roundup is the devil, and Bayer company that bought Roundup after they got sued and lost so much money. Bayer bought them, and now Bayer is out of Germany, and they're running the Roundup. But that shit, when you spray a bug, okay, you're killing mosquitoes and stuff like that, but you're also killing off that big pretty cardinal that you like watching coming in your yard because it doesn't have anything to eat. And it's the same way with my yard. I cut my grass when it's got to be at least 5 inches tall before I cut my grass. I'm just not going to do it because it gives time for regrowth of what's going on in that grass. Gives them time to regrow and produce more insects and bugs and stuff like that. And you can produce beneficial bugs that will eat the bad bugs if you take the time to do it. So it's a big concern for me. I'm 95% organic of all the plants, and you guys have seen my plants at my house, and you know that I know my shit when it comes to growing stuff.
This is true.
Mike, you haven't seen it, but I've got a serious garden. Right now I've got 35 tomato plants. If that gives any idea of how much I've got. But
I saw a really good video of somebody who had a huge bounty of tomatoes, and they just ran out of all these ideas. They canned so much, you can only do so much with tomatoes, but they found what they really found that they enjoyed doing was making tomato powder to store like spices and use it, just add a little water, you get a tomato paste, you can make a ketchup with it really fast, and it keeps forever.
That's not a bad idea. I take my surplus to the farmer's market,
Right.
and sell it to the farmer's market. And there's nothing like cracking open some tomatoes in February when it's 30 degrees outside, making yourself a nice fresh pasta with some fresh tomato sauce. I usually put up enough to get me through the winter, and I'll make fresh the next year. But I will do a substantial amount of canning every year, and I think I may look into that tomato powder thing. That sounds like something to get into. So, as far as comments that we may have missed,
Yeah, Andrea's got a lot. Really,
yeah.
You got to hear from her more.
Andrea, how will a DJI ban be enforced? I wonder. John? No, that's not John. That's Mike.
Well, I think this particular legislation is based off of the FCC's control over, wireless spectrum licensing. So any device like your phone has got to have the license attributed to its specific device to transmit, data through certain spectrums of wireless. And they won't be able to have new devices. DJI won't be able to register new devices under the FCC by the end of the year. And the applications that are available software-wise to control the existing devices will not be listed on major app stores like the Apple App Store and Google Play, which, that alone destroys companies. If you can't get to the consumer, you're not going to be able to have a consumer. So if that happens, it's pretty cut and dry. DJI will be blocked from the market 100%. I will still be able to fly the ones that I have, but I won't be able to get new ones, not officially. And if I have to upgrade my devices, I won't be able to re-download the software to use it. So, again, if the U.S. market was even close, I'd be really happy about that. But I mean, it would effectively, quadruple or more my, investment and my company's investment into the equipment. It's just too much.
Andrea also says, I understand some folks are upset because black women have been excelling for years with no recognition, but you're right, William. Credit where credit is due. I actually haven't been able to watch Caitlin play any. I watched her in the college playoffs, and I don't know if that's going to work or not. It's not. Can't do it. But she was something like I've never seen before as far as women's basketball go.
Yeah, she's good.
She is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, if you can hear us, it'll only let us do 4 people up here. So Gary's there, but he's not there.
That's unusual.
Oh, Gary. Hi, Gary.
He is gone. Anyway, let's see. And one more from Andrea. I have some beautiful Japanese beetles, Bill. I hate those little bastards. I have come up with something that I don't know if I said it already on here or not, but what I do is I have a bunch of fresh rosemary. I mean, I'm talking about it covers 2 foot by, maybe 3 feet by about 5 feet in one of my gardens is just fresh rosemary. I mean, it's
a big bush. I've seen it.
I have a lot of rosemary. And what I do is I go in there and I trim it, and I take the trimmings of the rosemary and then I put it in cold water in a pot and put that pot on the stove, bring it to a boil, and let it sit there and cool down naturally, right? What that does is it pulls the oil out of the branches that I put in there, puts it in the water. Then I put it in a spray bottle, and then I go spray my plants. It has made a significant difference in my bug control. I've still got Japanese beetles, but I don't have them like it. I don't think it's as bad this year as it has been the last 2 years, but I've been spraying my grape plants, and I've got a plum. It's a peach tree. It's a cross between a peach and a plum, and it's been. I still see Japanese beetles every once in a while, but I see 2 or 3 rather than 40. So it's not as bad this year, and I think that the spray that I'm using with the rosemary oil, they do not like that. You can spray that around your deck, and it keeps the mosquitoes away. It's a good thing to have, and it's fairly inexpensive if you own some big rosemary bushes. If not, you can go to one of the box stores and buy yourself a $2 plant and or a bunch for about $2, and take that and throw it in the water when you get home. But I think that's all we have.
I really liked the presentation on AI. That was really nice.
Yes, John, that was a great job. I really appreciate it.
Nice.
I actually know something about AI now, whereas I didn't know anything.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad, and I'm going to post my notes and the slides on Intelligent Ramblings Friends on Facebook.
All right,
where
folks.
I've been posting my notes.
Remember that we're only on YouTube at the moment. We're working on getting onto LinkedIn, and we're working on getting back into Facebook, but we will always be there on YouTube for Intelligent Ramblings. And I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. I appreciate the people that listen to us every week. After the show is no longer live, I guess that's where they don't have to look at us. I can understand that. Anybody got any parting thoughts?
No, have a good night.
Good show. We had quite a few folks attending.
Yes, we did.
That's good.
Mike, we appreciate you subbing for us, and we will probably have you back here next week.
Love to be here.
Hope everybody has a good evening and a good week, and stay cool. Be safe.